All right, welcome to episode 22 of the Can You Geek podcast. My name is Steve. That odd one in the background is Errane.
Wow.
And then the random giggle is Sid.
Hey, man. Oh my gosh.
Oh, welcome back.
A great start.
Yep, I'm now crying. This is how I want to start every episode, is crying. Look what you did. You made the Canadian cry.
Listen, I'm far less tired than last night, so I've got more energy.
This is very true.
I'm more powerful.
We have rebuilt them stronger and faster.
We have the technology.
Okay. So yeah, we're going to be talking about cosplay today. Totally serious. Okay, serious face.
I can see your serious face from here.
It's totally my serious face.
There you go. I believe in you.
Trying to stop the tears. It's okay.
Oh my god. You can get there.
Yeah, I will get there. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. The history of cosplay. So surprisingly to me, in reading through the articles that Sid so kindly shared.
Yes.
She did my job as researcher this week, which was very thankful.
I'm here for you.
I was actually shocked to learn that cosplay started in North America. So I'd always assumed it was a Japanese thing.
I did too, to be honest.
Yeah, I would have assumed that was where it was from.
And it started way earlier than I was ever thinking it would have. So for those are listening, it started in the 1930s in North America and was initially called costuming. And you weren't actually dressing as a character. You were just dressing appropriately for the genre. So the very first person to dress in a costume was this guy named Forrest J. Ackerman, who attended a sci-fi convention and wore what would almost look kind of like a Rocket Man outfit from looking at the picture.
Oh yeah, almost.
Snow helmet. So yeah, he was the first attendee to ever show up in costume. And then in following years, they started to have masquerade balls where people would show up in costume, and then prizes were given to the best costumes.
Not much has changed since then.
I was going to say, it's 80 years on, and that's pretty much exactly what still happens.
Just how elaborate they are now, though, and how easy it is to come by, like the technology to get better detail, better things. So
yeah. So in Japan, it started based off a manga series and a television series. The manga series was Irosei Yatsura, and the television series was Mobile Suit Gundam. And I apologize if I butchered that. Gundam was one of my favorite shows growing up.
Yeah, you definitely butchered. You butchered Mobile Suit Gundam. So yeah, you can't even say it now. Mumble Suit Tuna.
Mumble Suit Tuna. Yep.
Mumble Suit Tuna.
Episode 22, Mumble Suit Tuna.
Mumble Suit Tuna.
It started in Japan with college students dressing as their favorite characters for conventions, borrowing the practice of masquerading from North American fans, and then they would reenact their favorite scenes, which added to the excitement, and display their adoration for the series. In 1994, the term cosplay was invented by a Japanese writer,
Bumblebee Tuna.
Reporter. Bumblebee Tuna, yep. He combined the words costume and play after he attended Worldcon in LA, and his name is Nobuyuki Takahashi, and he felt translating the word masquerade to Japanese felt too old-fashioned, so he coined cosplay, and it has never gone away since.
Did you say 94? It was 84.
Did I say 94? I meant to say 84.
Did you say 84? Because it was 84.
If I said 94, I apologize. Error and omission. But,
I think you said 2004. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I could have.
You get your dates right.
2004 Space Odyssey.
Roll the tape.
Rewind.
Review the tape
now. Instant replay. I challenge that.
Let's do it. Throw a flag on the play. The Packers beat the Bears. Let's just take a moment of excitement for that. Speaking of football jargon, okay, I just have to say it, right? Packers beat the Bears, first game of the season. We didn't
He's
win
not a
by
Packer
much.
fan or anything.
No, I love the Packers, and you have two of us on here, so
I know.
yeah.
I didn't
Sid's a
enjoy watching
Packers
the
fan,
game,
so.
but I am glad we got the W.
No, it was terrible. It was like
I don't think anybody enjoyed watching the game.
It's like playing pool when the opponent hits the 8-ball in. It's not that you really won the game of pool. You just, they lost the game of pool, right? So I feel like the Packers won the game, but they didn't really earn it like as much as it was like a game of defenses, weirdly enough, and that's strange to say as Packers. And I've successfully taken you off topic. That's what I'm here for.
Yes.
This is our show. We spend about 5 minutes on topic and the rest of it not on topic.
That's key. That's how important it is.
It is.
We should call it Can
I
You
think
Stay
we
on
covered
Topic?
most of the history anyways.
Yeah, it was a good segue into what's next.
I mean,
yeah.
Close enough.
History's stupid. Yeah, who wants history? Nobody.
Nobody cares about the history.
Yeah, nobody needs a history garbage.
The segue is into why you cosplay. So as I'm just getting into it, I don't have as big of a history of why I'm doing it. I know. So I'm doing it because of the joy I've seen in people. And like my biggest example is when I went to Fan Expo here with my family, my daughter dressed up as Alice and we ran into an artist that my wife saw the work and loved, which turns out actually Errane really likes his art as well.
Yeah, the guy's amazing.
He is a really big fan of Alice. And when I was buying the print for my wife, he threw in an Alice print for my daughter because she was dressed as Alice, and her joy of running and being like, Mom, I got one for me because he thought I was Alice and it was so cool. And that it just drives home why to cosplay and what I want to get out of it. So to you guys, why do you cosplay?
Well, I do it because I enjoy it. And honestly, I haven't gotten as serious into it as most people. I started dressing up as like super intricate costumes and paying pretty good attention to detail. 4 or 5 years ago, the first costume my husband and I ever did together was Green Arrow and the Canary. That's also one of our first pictures together ever. That was when we first started dating. And
it's an interesting thing to get into when you first start dating.
And we both enjoyed it, and we actually.
Well, you know where they took it after that. They have a kid now. So, yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Roleplay is the spice of life, just saying.
Anyways, thanks, Aaron, for that one.
Yep, I'm here for you.
We actually won the costume contest that we were at that night, and then so we made it a thing every year. We tried to one up our Halloween costumes. The next year we didn't get to because we were underway, but the year after that we dressed up as Jack Skellington and Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, and we actually won a contest that night too. So we like to do it together, like dressing up and going out. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't. I know.
You said it, not us. You like to do it together. I mean, I don't know how much more plain and simple you can get at this point. We like to dress up
as these characters that are related.
Yep.
Okay. And oh my gosh, no, I can't do this. I can't do this.
And this is why Sid quit cosplaying. We're talking about it anymore.
This is why Sid quits the CanYouGeekS podcast. Second episode in.
We just really enjoyed it. And then fast forward to Comic-Con this last year. Or what, 2 years ago now? Oh man, that was a while ago.
It was it 2 years? Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
And then when we bought the tickets for ECCC, I was not pregnant yet. and then I became pregnant, so I had to change all of my costumes. And I actually buckled down and made my Padme costume from episode 3. Revenge of the Sith. Oh God.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's the name
anyways,
of the movie. Yeah,
from
you nailed it.
that
Hold on.
movie, and Rob dressed up as Anakin, and I think that's probably my favorite, and that's because at Star Wars Day at ECCC, that's where Rob proposed to me. So that costume actually is still hanging in my closet for, you know, one of those just in case days.
And we got to be
Yep.
there for it.
Yes.
Oh my God. It was
So
beautiful.
I guess for me, why I cosplay is just the enjoyment. Like I like to. I can't say this without you guys laughing, so I'm just going to be done. And Errane, it's your
No, you can say it. You can say it. I
Yeah,
won't laugh.
this is
I
a
I like
promise.
safe
dressing up.
space.
I like dressing up as other people or other characters, and I mean, almost to the point where you don't even recognize who I am. You know, like I've worn wigs, I've done the face paint thing, and I really enjoy it. I take pride in my costume, and then when it does turn out really good, I enjoy going out and having other people appreciate it. It really sets the tone.
Yeah, I think something I just want to mention, just because it involves both of you and skill sets that you have. Steve, you do a business for 3D printing. 3D printing's huge in a cosplay.
Mhm.
So I think that, you know, even beyond your reason of just wanting to have fun and stuff, I mean, honestly, it can be a lucrative business for you. And then for Sid, I know that you do a lot of, like you said, you made your Padme costume. It was a really great costume, but you, I mean, even on the ship, the aircraft carrier you were stationed on, and for other people before that, you've always done like sewing, and you're really good at sewing stuff together. And so you have, like, you guys have skill sets that revolve around, you know, what's useful in cosplay, as far as not only the wearing and enjoying the embodiment of another character or whatever, but also the creation part of it, that you can take piece into, you know, part into that and have some fun with it, which I think is cool. As far as why I cosplay, I was telling you guys about this. When I was younger, I got some friends that got me into LARPing. I think we were in middle school or high school, so like 8th, 9th grade, and live action role playing, right? And the whole process of this is you stick a PVC pipe in a fun noodle, right? Those floating fun noodles you use, you know, just like oh no, never mind, I won't go there. So yeah, you stick it right up in the hole, and you make fun swingy swords out of it, right? And that's your sword. You're using your imagination. That's your weapon. When I got involved, you know, we were poor, we didn't have a lot, so I would kind of scrounge materials I found around the house, and we had some old rolled up, those blue camp foam that you'd like lay on, you know, in your tent. And I started going to work on like cutting a piece for the PVC, and then I'd layer it like 3 layers, and I started designing these intricate, cool weapons. And I kind of became like the blacksmith of my friend's group in making these really cool weapons. And I remember making this axe, because all they used before that, the coolest thing they had was this giant like claymore, almost like they put a, you know, a 4-connect in the PVC, so it had, you know, parts coming out, and, you know, for the hilt, and you had, you know, all these cool pieces of it, but it was still just fun noodle on PVC. Whereas I made like an axe, right, that could now grab people's swords and throw them aside, and then beat them with a hammer on the other end. And there was just some really cool stuff that I was able to make, and that was kind of my introduction, without knowing it, into that. Fast forwarding quite a bit later, I went into an anime con in Boston, which is apparently a pretty big deal. And I went with my buddy, and he was dressing up as a Bleach character named Ichigo. And that character has like 2 different sides to him, I guess. And I don't know a lot about it. I tried to watch the show to gear up for it, because I felt like a bit of a poser. Because, you know, I didn't know anything about Bleach, but it was a thing to do for a friend, right? A favor. He was really asking. The person who was supposed to go with him kind of bailed on dressing up with him. So he had the costume and everything, and he gave me the other side of it. And you're behind a mask. You got this cool, intricate costume on and a sword, and he bought it all. Like, it was just but the mask was real high quality. It looked really cool. And so I go to this anime con, and I only know a few animes. Like Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorites. Ninja Scroll's a good one, but I hadn't even seen that yet by then. And so I wasn't big into that culture, but the convention, right? My goal was to always go to a Comic-Con. I'd never gotten to go to one, and now I'm at an anime con, and I feel like a total, like, pleb here. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know most of these animes, but the environment was so welcoming, so fun. And I'm behind a mask, and they asked me to do poses, and I'd kind of studied some poses from the show, so that way I didn't let my buddy down, right? So we did all these cool poses, and it was a lot of fun, and people are like taking photos. And I remember that he had the year before, he was trying to break his record, and the year before when he went to AnimeCon, the same place, he got about 100 unique photos, and that his rules to the photos were it had to be unique, was a different person taking it. So if they took like 3 or 4 or 5 photos, that only counted as one, and it couldn't have been any of the organized group photos. So one thing that people do as cosplayers is they'll get together as like groups, like, hey, this is the Bleach community, let's all get together on social media. They'll be like, hey, meet at this spot in the convention center, and we'll all get together and take photos. Those don't count either. We did the Ichigo costume, and we got over 400 photos taken, unique photos. So there was, I think we had like over 800 photos total, like in our phones or whatever, and that people had taken. It was a lot of fun, and I wanted to do it again. It was like when you get your first tattoo, you have to get more tattoos, right? It's like an addiction, and cosplay has that. It's it's a very welcoming atmosphere. The people that were there were really great. And then, of course, like you're talking about, Sid, when we did the Star Wars Day with you, it was magical to be a part of that. We did the Star Wars Day the first day. We did we talked about how we did Nightmare Before Christmas the next day, and that was probably my favorite day. Star Wars Day was really cool because all 4 of us dressed up. So it was Jess, me, Sid, and Rob, her husband, and Jess and I was just a dark, like a Sith. That's all I was, just a random Sith. I wasn't playing a specific character. She was dressed up as Rey, and so it was really cool when like people were controlling BB-8 droids all around. Like she got photos with these BB-8 droids and R2D2 droids and chopper droids, and just really really cool stuff. And like just the magic of that. And when like you're talking about Star Wars Day, like when we went to anywhere that was involved with the Star Wars stuff, like it was more magical to us because we were involved. But my favorite day was the second day. So Sid and Jess didn't dress up that day, but Rob and I did. Rob pulled out the Jack Skellington costume, and I was done in Oogie Boogie. And Jess had done some really cool stuff with my costume. Probably the most comfortable day I had because I was just in this big puffy suit, but it was all sewn in. So if you remember, I had to undo. So my feet were sewn into the costume. Not like my physical feet, but like my feet, the feeties that I had to look like I was a complete burlap sack. They were actually sewn into it. So I could not take this thing off for the entirety of the day. Luckily, from being on a submarine as long as I was, I didn't use the restroom that entire day. I didn't have to until the end because there was no way to go. There was no way to go. I was locked into the suit. Like the entire thing was sewn together. My hands were sewn on. Or no, my hands were the only thing that could escape. But they were like a flat back thing.
I thought you could take it off.
No, she sewed the head on.
Yeah.
I think that there was no, we Velcroed. That's what it was. We Velcroed the head on. That's what it was. Yeah, I could take because I would get hot. But that day was fun because like I scared kids, which was great. But there was kids. I made children cry, which as Oogie Boogie was great. But on the flip side of that, everybody was so excited to take pictures with Oogie Boogie and Jack Skellington. It was magical for Rob and I. We had a lot of fun. You'd hear kids. They're like, Oogie Boogie. Oh, that's Jack Skellington. You know what I mean? And it's just really, really cool that you're embodying a character that you're not really that person. It's a fictional character, but you get to play that. And when we were there, we saw very few of Nightmare stuff, which made it really cool because then me and Rob really stood out. Which made it even more fun because even more people want that opportunity. That's one thing. Like we're talking about, we did Star Wars, we did Nightmare, and then the next day we did Firefly, which is exhausting to do that many costumes for different days. But you have some people who do the same character every day. So what's neat about it is sometimes people they want to get that opportunity, right? So just like Oogie, that was their opportunity to get a picture with Oogie. So they want to get that picture, right? It's like at Disney World, the magic of taking the picture with the princesses or Mickey Mouse or any of the other famous characters. It's magical. And that's why I like it. It's beyond the art of it. It's beyond the creativity that goes into it it's magical. It's magical. That's probably why I love it so much. It's really, really fun.
I think that's why we all like it so much because it's fun.
Yeah.
Hey,
I wasn't sure you were actually going to stop.
let him
You were
rant.
just going and going and going.
I'm forever, Steve.
He
I'm
stayed on
inevitable.
topic.
I know. You are inevitable.
Yeah, I did.
I know. That's
managed
why
to
I was
stay there.
just sitting there quiet. I'm like, he's actually on topic. Be quiet. Just let him go.
Do you
Just
want to
let him
talk
go.
about Batman some more?
Maybe another time.
I mean, all the time for you, Steve. Batman's your favorite.
Seattle has their own
He
Batman.
does glisten in the Dark
Oh
Knight.
my God. So ridiculous.
Oh, so what makes a good cosplay? So professionally in this article, they drop it down into 3 categories, which is the attention to detail, creativity, and confidence. I definitely think attention to detail is the more hardcore, aka professional level. There are people that are in the more casual level that go full on and spend the attention to detail, but most people I know that do it, and I mean like us doing it, you guys and me, is you don't want it to be like, you don't want it to be so far that it's hard for somebody to tell what it is, but you're not spending hours doing like buttons and buckles and watches to match exactly what should be. You're putting on the outfit and the persona to being like, you're being a little bit more creative sometimes, and it's the more confidence you have with it, to me, that is what makes it a good cosplay. To me, being exactly perfect to what it is doesn't necessarily matter unless you're in a contest that they're judging you on that specific, like having the right fabric. Like if your jacket is made out of suede, but it actually should have just been plain leather. Like those are things that matter when you're being judged in a professional contest. But just walking around a convention enjoying
Honestly,
being a character, I
of
don't
those
think
3
that should
things,
matter.
I think the confidence thing is probably what makes the best cosplay. Like, because somebody could show, like, I think you could just throw something together, right? Just because you want to, and show up. And as long as you're confident in your persona, you're gonna enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to think about this one some more. And while I agree that I think the most important is the confidence, how you hold yourself in that costume, right? And this kind of leads into some other matters and stuff. When we talk about what makes a good cosplay, I thought about this kind of as a devil's advocate question of which ones do you, and maybe this makes maybe it would subcategory this in not like all cosplay can be good cosplay, because as long as you're having fun and it's a good time, that's good cosplay. But what makes good cosplay? Like if I was to subject that to a different category, like a subcategory,
Okay.
I'd call it what makes memorable cosplay. And what's funny is some of the like trashiest, like, you know, making fun of it, like you're having like somebody's being satirical in their costume to the point of like they're not trying on purpose, like it's supposed to be funny that way, to people who put in you know, months and months of their time into this costume. Those things tend to have an impact. I remember when we were at Comic-Con, and Sid, I think you remember the family with Deadpool
Deadpool and
Ahsoka. You remember them, and the reason for
I
that
do,
is how
yes.
good, because the Deadpool specifically was acting like Deadpool, which made that really fun. But like the Ahsoka was, I think, their daughter, and she looked amazing. Like her cosplay
they killed it.
Yeah, I think what was the dad was Han Solo. The daughter was Ahsoka. I think it was his eldest son was doing the Deadpool, and then one more, the mom. She was, oh my God, I can't remember who she was. But like I said, that memory of, and it has a lot to do with personally, like you said, the Deadpool and the Ahsoka, because those two were honestly just killer, because those are two costumes that the Deadpool looked like it came from the movie set. It was that good.
Yeah.
It looked like it was straight. Like it could have been Ryan Reynolds under that. I wouldn't have known. Like that's how good it was. It looked like his costume. Like it was
Like I
so
wanted
well
him to
done.
take off his mask to make sure it wasn't Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I think I challenged him on it. I was like, "Are you Ryan Reynolds?" And he shook his head no. I was like, "I don't believe you." Like,
yeah,
I don't believe you
right?
for a second, right? And it was just, I think that cosplay like that, when you talk about what makes good cosplay, to subcategory that to what makes a memorable cosplay, I think is where good cosplay can just be like you're saying, where you hold your confidence in it, you're enjoying it, you're having fun in the moment, and everybody's having fun with you. Like, and they're, like I said, the Oogie Boogie costume I had was really good. Like, it was awesome, but it's definitely not the best Oogie Boogie costume that's ever been done. It's probably definitely not the worst Oogie Boogie costume that's ever been done, but I was having fun in it. I was having fun playing around. I was waving at people. I was dancing, like being silly, having a good time, and it held up in a fun time for me and us, like as friends. Like me and Rob were just having a heyday.
Yeah, leading you guys around is pretty fun.
Right? Yeah, you got to. There was some really good interactions with people that we just had fun, just waiting in line. It was a good time. And that was one thing. It made long lines like less of a problem because now we're having fun interacting with people, just having fun, just sitting there with the cosplay and fun like that. That makes good cosplay, but definitely memorable cosplay. That's where that attention to detail really comes into play. Those are things that you remember for long after the con is done. I'm not going to remember every costume I saw, but I'm going to remember the ones that were so, like the Bob Ross Deadpool. That one was amazing.
Oh, that was awesome.
That was so good. Yeah, and so stuff like that like sticks out, right? So that uniqueness, right, or the just that attention to detail tends to be more memorable. So I think not to take away from what makes a good cosplay, but I think that there's definitely different levels to it, and your professional level is definitely another one that's it's very very pertinent to that reality and that culture. So
yeah, no, and that's a great point. I actually never thought of it that way in the memorable cosplay, because my daughter's wasn't the best Alice you'll ever see. I mean, arguably it was just a little kid's like costume, like Halloween costume, that she didn't have her hair done. It was just the dress, but it was memorable to her in the way that the guy responded to it. So to her, that was a great cosplay because it was memorable. Exactly. And she'll remember that.
And to that guy.
That's a great way to put it. I like that.
And to that guy, that artist, man. And that's what's so cool about the community is that an artist who's clearly, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, doing art that isn't always like the greatest financial situation. Giving your art away, right? That lessens the value of your art, not in a real way, but he found that the value of seeing your daughter in his favorite character's cosplay was equivalent to the value of his art. I think that is magic. That is amazing, and that's what makes cosplay amazing. That's what makes good cosplay.
No, and I completely agree with that. I actually like that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know I cut you off there.
Oh no, you're good. I was going to say the same thing.
I was cutting Squid off. I heard her start talking.
Nah.
Oh my God, you're so rude.
Freaking Canadians, man.
Are you sorry?
I'm very sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, you better apologize.
I don't want him to run out.
Go oot in a boot.
Oot in a boot.
So
he's got to save it for his currency.
I do. All those apologies.
Yeah, you're draining that bank.
So that brings to the other side of, instead of what makes a good cosplay, is what are the risks or hazards with cosplaying? And I mean, the big one, which it's horrible to say, but it's sexual harassment. And there's a big, as Errane mentioned when we were discussing this before, there's a big push right now that cosplay doesn't equal consent. And it's very much true. And it's a sad world we live in, where people in general can get overly excited and cross boundary lines that they shouldn't be crossing when somebody's in a costume that they really, really enjoy.
Yeah. And it's not gender biased either. It's both sides.
Yeah.
Which is the whole cosplay is not consent movement Like, I understand why they have it. I just wish it wasn't necessary.
Exactly. And I mean, it can be as simple as just like asking to have a picture taken instead of just taking a picture, because there's as much time as people spend on costumes, it's very easy to get an angle where something is showing that's not meant to be shown. And it can detract from what that person's trying to put out there. It could be as egregious as putting your hand in inappropriate spots when you're posing for pictures. Like, there's asking for that permission for anything is very important when it comes to cosplay. Errane is very quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are making the best of points, right? I feel like cosplay isn't consent is one of those things that is an unfortunate truth about humanity and why we suck as humans. I do understand that on the devil's advocate side of this, there are people who purposely do
Provocative.
provocative things on purpose. There are people who do it, right, on both sides. And I get that exists. It still doesn't mean that it's consent. And that's the blurry line is that people get their little fantasies going or whatever, and they take it too far, and they touch where they shouldn't touch, or they say what they say something they shouldn't say, or even go to the world of social media.
Yeah.
And post things they shouldn't post or don't have permission to post. And you nail it on the head, Sid, when you say that, I wish it didn't have to exist, but it does exist. And it ruins what makes cosplay. We talk about how cosplay is important, because it's fun, it's expressive, it's art, it's magical. It's got all these positive things that go around cosplay and what it is. And for all those people that just are having fun, it's great when it gets to remain fun. The moment somebody sexualizes it and turns it into something disgusting is the moment that's ruined for everyone. And the funny thing, we talk about how we were surprised this wasn't inherently like started in Japan and with that culture, because like mangas and animes are really commonly expressed at most cons, right? You go to a convention, you're going to see at least half of the characters represented are probably from some manga or anime that they've seen. Those characters in tradition sometimes have a more provocative look. That doesn't mean that person's trying to be sexual for everybody else to see.
Yeah.
It means that they love that character and they're dressing up like that character, and they're having confidence in their own skin and their own body, no matter what body type, no matter what sex they are. They're having fun in that moment dressed as that character. To take that away from them is wrong. And there's too many people who take that away from innocent people just having a good time. And that's when you get these perverts who decide to take it upon themselves in those different formats to be aggressive, sexually, vocally, emotionally. And it's wrong for those people to act that way inappropriately to all these other people just trying to have fun. And you don't belong there if you're going to be somebody who wants to ruin it for everyone else.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
We're doing a horrible job at creating drama.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why this is the time you want to say that, Steve. Would you like some drama about this?
No, I'm just saying, like, we brought on a third because we tend to agree too much, and all we're doing is agreeing.
I mean, this one,
No, hold on.
this topic doesn't really, have a bunch of
I know,
stuff
there's
to
no drama with
agree,
it.
disagree. It's just at this point we're just talking about how it is in
Experience
and
and
experience.
how it is.
So there's really
Yeah.
nothing to argue about. I could probably find
This is
something.
true.
I am a woman.
Well,
Oh, I know. We could
Yeah.
find something.
Well, here's a question then. I'll bring this up. I was talking to Ty yesterday, a day before, and he brought up a question that I personally don't think it's where the industry's going, but I kind of want to see what you guys think. So, one thing that's happening now is in the world of social media becoming widespread, the internet in general, but content creation, right? So you get streamers. You can find streamers now on Twitch and Mixer, YouTube, that are showing you how to make certain things for cosplay. You can get on stores like Etsy and eBay, and you can go order custom made things. There's a business to it. And if you watch some documentaries or you talk to cosplayers, there's professional actors now that come to cosplay at events. But there's the flip side of that. There's people who are creating the costumes to be recognized professionally at events. So where do you think at some point cosplay is not going to become fun anymore and going to become judgmental when it's being so much presented as a business that people can't have fun with it anymore? Does that make sense? I might not be asking that correctly. So, for instance, people are coming to these contests to win, but it's just like scouts at a baseball game, right? These cosplayers and these cosplayer creators or cosplay creations, the people creating them are almost auditioning for a job, right? Because this could lead to you in a job in movies and TV shows, create as costume designer, right? Because you have the eye for it. You're creating these amazing things. So do you think that in the business of wanting to look the coolest and the best, do you think that at any point we're going to lose the magic of just people who have, who don't have the money to do the craziest, most intricate costume? Do you think the fun factor will ever go away in cosplay?
I hope not. Because I think that even right now, there's people that judge other people based on not fitting the image of what they think that character should look like. And I really hope it doesn't get to a point where it's all just monetized and just commercial, because I don't know. It is a legit worry. I don't know how to properly articulate what. It's a really good question, sir.
I think it's about as commercialized as it's going to get, as far as people like finding ways to create their costumes and stuff. Because I mean, even at ECCC, I went to a cosplay panel, and they had other panels after that talking about sewing costumes and then working with molds and stuff like that. So even at the con, they're having panels that'll teach you how to do all this stuff. So I hope it doesn't, and I honestly don't think it will get that far. I think it's already about the point it's going to be as far as commercializing, because I don't think anybody in the community is going to let it get past the point of no return to where it's not fun anymore.
And that was my response as well. I think that although there's people seeking a professional, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with having a professional sense of cosplay, both as a cosplayer, actor, or as a professional creator, somebody who designs costumes. I don't have a problem with any of that. But I also think that, just as you said, Sid, just based on my interaction with the community, when my interaction at that Anime Con years ago and ECCC with you and Sid, they were the same. People all love everybody who's dressed up. People who aren't dressed up still love to see the people who are dressed up, and the people who are dressed up aren't judging those who aren't dressed up, and the people who are dressed up aren't judging the others who are dressed up. Now, there are people who are judging. I'm not saying that the judgment isn't there, but the general consensus of the culture is still fun. And I don't personally think fun's going anywhere. I think that it's always going to be available for the same reason you're talking about, Sid, where there's people who create panels just for this. Like Kevin Smith has gone on record saying in plenty of interviews how much it doesn't matter that he's a famous movie director and actor and stuff like that. He is always wanting to push for other content creation to come in the market. He cannot stress how much more he wants other people making their clerks. I think in the cosplay world, I would say that any of the top people in cosplay just would be at these panels teaching people the tips and tricks they've learned, teaching them the hazards and things that you can have within cosplay, teaching them about what mistakes they've made and cool tips they can do and other places they can reach out to get resources, because they want more people doing it. I think that the dream, the utopia in a con is that everybody's dressed as the person they love the most in their fictional world, and that they're all interacting that way. I think that's the dream, right? That would be the mecca of a con, is 100% all decked out in their favorite costumes, doing the cool thing, no matter how cool or, no matter how intricate or simple the costume is, everybody's having fun doing that. I think that's the goal. It has nothing to do with everybody making a business of it. It has more to do with people all enjoying themselves within the culture and the community.
That's, yeah. And I mean, it sounds like that's what they're doing in Star Wars at the Universal Hotel, or the Orlando Hotel. Ugh.
Yeah.
Is trying to build that immersive experience. So
outside of sexual harassment, what other things do we have?
Well, we talked
as
about
risks
judgment.
with cosplay.
The main
thing
thing
is about that a lot already too.
Yep. Yeah, judgment. So besides those two things,
I would say one thing is, I mean, it happens with all things, is being mindful of the limitations for your body, as weird as that sounds. It's more like the heat tolerance and stuff, because some of these costumes can be very elaborate and not have proper airflow or ventilation, and so you can overheat
at
very, very quickly.
There was a dude that did the K2 thing, and he was like in like these boxes and foam and all kinds of stuff, but you could see the screens that he had painted over, and he had like a couple little fans in one of them, and he had the screens all over the place to try and get airflow through it. And then at the panel I went to, one of the ladies said that they were dressed in something that had a lot of like electronic stuff in it, and she actually had to like go behind the curtain, strip out of it, and turn it all off because it was starting to catch fire. So when you have electrical stuff in there, you want to make sure you've got enough cooling for all of that too. So it's just, like you said, it's just being mindful of the limitations of your body overheating, and B, the limitations of your costume.
Yeah. Which, I mean, one of the ones I'm going to be building is going to be a very intricate one that has electronics. It's got lights. It's going to be Gypsy Danger from Pacific Rim. And I mean, it's going to take me months to get it done, but I'm really going to be taking my time with the electronics because, I don't want to worry about possible electricity issues of fire or anything else. And I don't want to worry about overheating because it's going to be a lot of foam and a lot of sealed areas. So I'm going to need spots for fans. I'm going to need to design in like vent holes because I'm naturally a warm person anyway. So I'm going to be hot. Like I already know I'm going to be hot. And then putting that on top, it's not going to be fun, especially in a convention hall where most of the time the ventilation in those halls is not very good because there's just the sheer amount of people. So it's generally hot anyways, at least all the ones I've been to. And so I know for that one, I really need to be mindful. And so I think that's a big risk in cosplay is people or using cheaper materials to get cut corners that may have, like bad things in them. I'm thinking back to like lead.
Bad end result. Yeah.
Yeah. Like body paints.
Nelly always taught me what
to
do when it's hot. Yeah. Every time.
Yeah.
Just take off all my clothes. Nobody wants to see that.
Jess does, apparently.
Snoop likes to say, just drop it.
I think she's blind. She hasn't told me yet.
I've said that to my wife too. I'm like, you must be blind. But
she's blind with love.
Oh, love does make you do some crazy things.
It's a fact.
Anyway, so is there anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to cosplay?
I want to talk about me. I want to talk about I want to talk about number one. Oh, me.
Oh, my. Throw in some Toby Keith there. I thought you didn't like country music.
Whoa, I love country music.
It's the South wearing off on him now.
No. I've loved country music since before I got in the military.
Oh my God, who is it that doesn't then? One of our friends hates
Ty. Ty hates country.
There you go. Got it.
Yeah, Ty hates country.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes you guys are like the same person. So
whoa, no, because you're talking about music right now. We are not the same. He would be sad that you said that because I love hip hop and I love country, and he hates both those things. So, Sid, I would tread carefully.
I said sometimes.
Oh yeah, just not in music though.
However you want.
Yeah, not in music though. Trust me,
absolutely
he'd be sad to hear it. I've had him get in the car and I'm jamming out to like Chance the Rapper, and he just looks at me. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
But yeah, then we'll jam out to the new Tool album, which is amazing, and it's that unknown band that's taken down Taylor Swift.
It's just like unknown band.
Yeah, it's just like when Kanye West discovered this guy Paul McCartney. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him or not, but when Kanye discovered him, it was a big deal, guys.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, when this mysterious Tool band starts to make it big, maybe Taylor Swift will understand.
Maybe.
But they haven't made it big yet. They need to come out with that hit song. So once they do that,
maybe sell one album at some point in their life.
I remember when I used to stream, I would do Taylor Swift Tuesdays, and people would not come. They were not happy with me doing that. That's like a shameful thing to do on Twitch. Back when I would stream, is if you played country music, you got in trouble. Not that Taylor Swift is considered really country, she's more pop. But just speaking of country music, it was like you played country, you got in trouble. You could play rock, rap, pretty much everything else. But not country music. It's like forbidden.
I liked the days that you did country music.
Yeah, they're a fun time. They were good, man. I had fun with that. God, I miss streaming, doing art. It's great.
I know. One day.
So yeah, cosplay is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. Cosplay is magical. The more you know.
Yeah, the more you know. Just try it for people. Like if you're even had a remote interest in it, just give it a shot.
And even if you're shy, sometimes dressing up as somebody else and acting like that other person brings you right out of your shell, and it helps.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually quite a few, if you read interviews with like people that are professional cosplayers, quite a few of them will tell you in the interviews when you read them that they are completely different outside of the costume. They're shy, introverted, most of them, but as soon as they put on the cosplay, they're the character.
Yeah, it's the same as like streamers. Like streamers, they you're seeing their face, and for the most part, or hearing their voice, but for some reason, it's more comfortable being behind the safety of the computer screen, playing their video games and entertaining all these people. But you meet them in person, and they're complete introverts.
Exactly. Yeah, that was probably one of my funnest experiences at a convention was PAX West when we went.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that I knew online that was super friendly and we talked all the time, but then you got us into a big group there and it was just a big giant ball of social anxiety. It was the most interesting thing I have ever watched. So, but it was fun. And honestly, if you don't go to those conventions, you won't get to experience some really, really cool things. Like you guys seeing like the family dressed up and remembering that now in the fond memories. It's things that you can only get in those events.
Speaking of, was the mom dressed as Captain Phasma?
That might have been her, actually. I honestly cannot remember. Maybe she wasn't dressed up. Maybe that's why I'm not remembering.
I do remember seeing a Captain Phasma, though, and I thought she was with them.
That might have been her then. That might have been what it was. God, that Deadpool costume was so good. That little Ahsoka, I told the girl too. I told her, I was like, and I'm this adult man who's coming up to this family. I'm like, oh my God, Ahsoka Tano. They were obviously, she was loving it, right? Because she was so proud. It feels good, right? It's just like with your daughter, right? This girl, I think she was probably like 15 or something like that. So she's a lot older than your daughter is. But the same feeling, right? That feeling of like, I accomplished something cool today. People recognize me as this cool character that I love, right? And like, it was so fun to get those pictures. Like we all had a great time. Like my wife knew as soon as because I think Jess pointed it out. She's like, there's an Ahsoka Tano. I was like, what? I was like, oh my God. Yeah, she killed it. Yeah, she did the sweetest. Oh, I think I lost that picture in my hard drive.
I have a copy somewhere. I'll try to find
I'll
it.
have to get that from you. So cosplay is magical, people. It's amazing. God, it's so good. It's so fun. It brings about another level of geek fun, like within the culture. It's so fun. And I agree with Steve. Going to a convention and you don't have to dress up. Like, just go and just check out a convention. Like, for me, my first time was dressing up in a convention I had no interest in, and I had a blast. Like, it was all those elements like really pushed on me, and I had so much fun. It was my buddy Dan Bonison. That's who had me do the Bleach Ichigo stuff. But it was one of the best, like one of the fondest memories I have is that like dressed up and doing that stuff. Like those are good times. It's just it's great.
You don't have to do a big.
Go for it, Steve.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you don't have to do the big conventions. Like I mentioned PAX, there's Dragon Con, there's Comic Con. Like you guys did Emerald City Comic Con, which is relatively large. You don't have to do those big ones. The Fan Expo one that I was talking about here, it's a single room in a convention center. Fun. Yeah, it's pretty small in comparison to like the other ones we're mentioning.
Yeah, but it feels so big. It feels so big when you're there. That was fun. Doing that convention with you or that expo with you was a really good time.
So sorry. Okay, go Sid.
I was just going to say, like, and even if you have a friend that you know is going to be there and they're going to dress up in some like epic costume, and if you don't want to dress up, just be their photo person. You know, I think I had more fun at the Nightmare Before Christmas thing, just helping get good pictures of you guys with people than I would if I had dressed up that day.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, that's a huge part of it, right? Is being the photographer is almost just as exciting because you get to be a part of that whole moment, right? And people are so stoked to get the photos, and it's a good time. Like it's a lot of fun.
See everybody's faces. You got to hear all the exclamations and stuff, but you couldn't.
We really couldn't.
So having
was so many times that
for you was good. I had fun.
Yeah, there's so many times that Sid and Jess had to direct Rob and I to like face this way. Like they're, these poor people are trying to point us like, oh, look, this way. And we're like, no. And they're physically moving us to just so we can see what the heck we're looking at.
Yeah.
Because mine like I was looking out the mouth with all the bugs coming out. That's where my eyes were.
Yeah.
So my eye, because the head was way above my head, right? So the mask went way above me, and so I'm looking out the mouth, and so, but it was really dark. It was so cool. That was that was fun. I love that.
I'm excited to see what comes
right
of Rob's new mask.
Yes.
Oh yeah. That's good.
I have the file. I'll share it in the Discord after, so you can see what it'll look like when it's done. He'll get to paint it and do whatever he wants to it himself, but the rough shape and the picture will be a finished one. But
you mean I'll get to paint it?
Okay, yeah, this is true.
And that's the beauty of cosplay. There it is, folks. We talk about this business transaction that's going on.
Yes, exactly.
Tell them where they can reach us, Steve.
So I am at CanYouGeek on Twitter. He is at Southam Designs. Sid is at Sid Stare.
Yes.
We're on Facebook with the Can You Geek podcast. There's also our Facebook group, Can You Geek Nerds. We're on Patreon. So yeah, there's lots of ways to reach out for us. We love the feedback. We want more of it. We would love to incorporate a question and answer period. So if you have any questions for us, stuff you want to know, you're curious about our opinion about things, send it in. Let us know. We'll gladly do a question and answer period.
Topic ideas?
Yeah, any topic ideas you want to hear us talk about? We're open to everything. So with that, later, nerds.
Later, nerds.
Later, nerds.
Today's music is used by permission from the artist Broke for Free. The song is called Something Elated. You can find it on freemusicarchive.org under the